All right. So, Father Boniface, you had some
Yes.
comments about what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to give you my assessment of what this is all about. Um, I call it just modern day Phariseeism,
Yeah.
and I'll explain that. Uh, is that if in the New Testament, when Christ performed, let's say, healings, the Pharisees were offended. When a man is blind or deaf and he heals on the Sabbath day, the Pharisees were offended. And so the point is that their attitude was you do it either our way or the highway. And if anyone does it different, they're rejected. And Christ comes to show them up for their hypocrisy and their sins, and that they had created a law of rules and regulations that was totally made of men and not of God. And they were offended by God's intervention overriding their system. And that's what Christ did. He overrode their system, and because he straightened it out and he called for mercy and not sacrifice, remember, and that if an ox falls in a ditch on the Sabbath day, wouldn't the owner, go help it? Of course he would. And so, are people more than oxen? Yes, they are. And so, when and you can add your comments on this, but they refuse to allow the church to be sold to anyone with any kind of greater virtue than their own. And they were a failure, and so therefore, and resentfully, they would rather have it die than live. They would rather have it go die than go into hands of faithful people. And that's like the Pharisees. They'd rather have the man born blind stay blind. They'd rather have the sick stay sick than go into the
Yeah.
hands of Christ and be healed. And so, in spite and in their Pharisaical shame and anger, they'd rather have the church die and be destroyed than to be given over into the hands of faithful people. And so, really, they've labeled themselves as pure Pharisees. They're owning the identity of what the Pharisees were at Christ's time. And so it's really coming out that that is exactly their disposition. And so people, I mean, people want to stay in those groups. Um, do you realize the spirit that they are? It's a killing spirit. The letter kills, but the spirit gives life. And this is clearly a verse that's applicable here. The letter kills, and it killed the church. It destroyed the church. And look at all the beauty. But you know what? The people, God's people, shouldn't be saddened by it. They should realize that's the way the Pharisees behave, but that we are of the Spirit of God. We have the Spirit, and therefore we are alive, and they're dead. So come out from that stuff. Come out from among them. Touch not the unclean thing, and embrace true orthodoxy, where Christ is it's organic. In other words, it's a living body. It's alive.